Hi, I think we're good. Hi, Diego. How are you?
Good.
How's everything? Did you see the game? Did you watch the games yesterday?
I watched the second half of the Real Madrid.
And who'd you have on the in that game? Real Madrid or Manchester City?
I thought they were going to tie from the beginning, so they tie often. So.
I didn't think it was going to be 3-3 though. Like usually it's like a 1-1 kind of thing.
Yeah,
But who do you have to win it? Like the whole Champions League thing.
I don't know. Probably Bayern Munich because they didn't win the league this year, so they're going to win that instead.
Yeah, they're 5 or 8 points behind now.
I think it's over 10. I don't know.
Over 10?
Yeah,
God, get updated then. All right. Anyway, so the purpose of this call is I think this is our third time doing this, or even our fourth time check-in. So in regards to your play development plan for the season, in the beginning we set some goals, then we had a check-in one, check-in two, and this is kind of like 7, 8 months into the season, towards the end of the season. Um, Obviously I have the year approved from your dad for this, so that's all good. Um, I'm quickly going to go over what we did previously. So this was in August, our initial assessment with the questions that I asked you. And this is basically 7 months later with the update. Um, just some context. So my instructors know too. So can you tell us a little bit more about your injury? I think you were out since January, I think, or you started feeling something in December and then you were fully out in January. And then it took you like 6 to 10 weeks kind of thing to come
yeah.
back towards the end of March. So can you tell us a little bit more about that? And then I'll go into maybe tell us a little bit more about these points here on why the psychosocial and the tactical kind of increased. And obviously the physical doesn't really need an explanation because could be injury. But why don't you tell us a little bit more about how it happened and why these two are kind of increased now, given the fact that you didn't really play, but you were still.
It was like 2 or 3 minutes into the game, and I was just like fouled really badly, and I couldn't walk, so I had to like kind of hobble off. And then after that, I got home and I couldn't stand on my leg at all. And I had to lay down for like 2 or 3 days. And then I went to the doctor and he said I need to like just like not really run or put any pressure on it for a while, like 2 to 3 weeks. And then I had to do that. And then it took me like 2 to 3 weeks to get ready again to play. And by the time I was ready, we only had like 2 or 3 games left to play.
Right.
Yeah.
So I know that I asked you these questions here, and one of the things you mentioned on why the tactical actually improved because you obviously you were there for sessions, you were a spectator for sessions, and you were there in games, and you kind of really paid attention to what I was saying, and also with the tactical support in regards to coaching points. That's kind of the reason why this one went up. And the psychosocial, I know we talked a lot about, mental, about your, well-being and your mental resilience. So can you tell us a little bit more about how you actually went through the whole process of being injured and then trying to come back and maybe, books, podcasts, articles, maybe another professional player that you mirrored yourself to in regards to come back bigger, better, and stronger.
I didn't really watch podcasts or anything or movies. It was really just me and my dad kind of because we were going like jogs so I could be ready to go for the season again.
Right.
But I don't know, I just realized that you get hurt and when you're out, you're out. So when you're not hurt, you gotta play as hard as you can and do as well as you can.
Right. Yeah, we understand that there's different aspects to the game of soccer, right? Obviously, you have your physical part of being on the field, but there's so much more involved around off the field that, could actually help you get to the next level. So again, thank you for all your answers. Just so my instructors know that I sent you three, six, like 9 different sections or aspects trying to get feedback from you. So thank you for giving me that. So I think it's good for us to just go over the goals that we set forth in the beginning of the season, 7, 8 months ago. So obviously, I see here 3 goals, 3 assists. So if we just take it step by step, and here we go, those were actually the short-term goals. So you were looking to win a tournament, which we actually did. In Wellington, that was exciting. 0-0, overtime, and then PKs. That was number 3 in the state. That was a good result. You had your 3 assists. Obviously, we still have a couple of games left, so you're on track. And I think in one of your answers, you also mentioned that you had a couple of good, penetrating passes in one game. I think it was Weston where you had 4 or 5
Yeah.
penetrating passes into attacking third, and then teammates unfortunately, did not finish on that one. So obviously we rely on teammates to finish to actually get that up. The goals obviously is also a team effort, but you're right up there with your 3 goals, Freddie. So that was a short term.
Yeah.
So we achieved all 3 in those. Your physical goals is something that you did the majority of the work, not all of it, but the majority of the work you did it off the field, like before and after practices, and your 3 nights where we actually had some physical goals, and we have the player tracker screenshots to prove it. So obviously your top speed, you wanted to improve your top speed. You went up from 25 kilometers an hour to 27. I guess, what is that, like 16, 17 miles an hour kind of thing. So that's good. And then initially we had this set to 80 sprints, but then, because you put in the extra work, especially, obviously before you got injured, December, January, we have the player tracker where you actually hit over 100. So obviously we saw a lot of progress there. And tied into those physical goals, you were looking to run more than 3 miles a game. We also have the player trackers there. But that being said, were you happy? Obviously, we're talking, well, before that injury kind of thing. Were you happy with your level? Like physically, obviously, because we just talked about it physically, but tactically, it actually comes into that as well, right? Because if you're physically fit, you can actually be concentrated, focused, and disciplined. So, were you happy with the physical work that you put in and the physical goals that we put forth? I know you mentioned it, that you wanted to put realistic goals on there, both
Yeah.
stats as well as physical. But how do you feel physically? Better than before?
Um, I'd say about the same level as when I got injured. I was doing like 3 to 4 miles practices, and I'm starting to do that again. So I'm getting close to where I was before I got.
Right. What about compared to last year or before we started doing the development plan, before we started doing all the extra work? Do you feel or see a difference compared
Yeah,
to
I'd say
the
I'm
player?
much better. Yeah, I'd say I'm much better physically.
Yeah. Um, so those were the physical goals. Um, Obviously, it starts at practice, right? If you want to start games, you have to work hard and focus and be disciplined at practice. So obviously, if you want to start the majority of the games, we had 75% there. Um, we had 18 out of 26 availability due to the injury. You're just a little bit on top above that, so you achieved that one. 75% of the playing time, you're up there too. So, I mean, we have that relationship that if we know that you're fit and if you know that you're mentally and physically fit and ready to play, that you're one of the starting players in midfield. So, if you're available, because I do think you're a key player and you have that impact on the field that you're starting. So we have that. And why don't you tell us a little bit more about the well, especially the one in December, the IDX showcase at camp. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because I know that you received a couple of offers there and emails that you forwarded.
Yeah, I kind of just went to those to see what the experience was like, because I'm not really looking to have college like offers yet. I just wanted to see what the level would be like. and it was fun. I just think of them as like going like it's an extra session when there's usually a day off.
Right. So that was a good segue. So you're not looking to go to college. So is this still part of your plans with the graduation as soon as possible? And then why don't you tell us a little bit more about the obviously step one and step two?
Yeah, I'm graduating early over the summer, so I can do trials at the beginning of like preseason for like just clubs in Europe in general.
Okay. And you know somebody, right? Is that what you told me? You have somebody who recommended you or can have you go through a trial
Yeah,
here in
yeah, they're kind of short on roster players, so that was like,
okay. All right, good. So after that, depending on how that experience goes, then perhaps we can still look at local options. We mentioned UPSL and USL. I'm not sure that after you go to Europe and have that experience, I'm not sure if this is still a viable option because it's very different in Europe. So
yeah,
I don't know how that's gonna go, but obviously we're all rooting for you and all hoping for the best. Um, I took 3 games. Um, Obviously you're 6/8, in our formation and 4-3-3 formation. So I took 3 games where we kind of went over the numbers. Game one was early in the season, in September. Game two was 10, 12 weeks after the cycle, after the first periodization cycle finished. And then obviously we had the one in January where you were still fit, but you felt something was about to happen. So that was actually before, you actually got injured that game. So I went back, I looked at the games, and this is just a percentage. I mean, I have the specific numbers on how many touches on the ball, etc. But obviously, as a 6'8", your short passes and your long passes are very important. For switching a point of attack to secure the ball, etc., or behind the ball, etc. And then the benchmarks are also mentioned. So we noticed that the passes are still have room for improvement. I should add that I took 3 games that are kind of similar results. It was like a 1 goal differential kind of thing, and possession wise was very similar. So it's not like we lost one game 5-0, and then I took a winning game to make the numbers look good. So these were all very even, like very similar games. Um, so the regains, obviously, in the beginning of the season, all very excited for the development plan, and I'm guessing we were putting in a lot of work, and everybody's excited because the first months or so during the season, everybody's working hard for their starting position. So everybody was out there to prove themselves. So we see a little bit of a trend with the regains as well, and the turnovers. And then the sprints is something that I was looking at very specifically, where we had 28 sprints attacking and 16 defending. And then it was a very similar kind of trend. As a coach, I would like to see that more balanced and not like 60, 70% more attacking versus, 30, 40% defending, which is also something I have a clip where it shows uh, where I can pinpoint that. But these are the numbers. I just think it's good for us to keep track of those, and obviously for you too, just to see where your game is compared to others, and moving forward. I mean, you probably know you're not going to compare yourself to Tony Kroos as like a 97% passing success rate, but this is just good for us to know. Uh, how we got to these numbers, obviously you were learning during the session. So on this slide, every session or cycle had a topic. Obviously, I was looking more at for attacking because I was looking for short and long range passes. So these were kind of relevant training sessions that we did, and a number of repetitions and unsuccessful. So if we compare these numbers, where it says successful, unsuccessful, we're kind of like average, probably around the 60% mark in sessions. And then when you look at these, you see that some of those are actually a little bit higher. So the short passes are a little bit higher than that 60% in the session. The long passes are very similar than during this. But it's just, again, nice to know. In regards to player actions, I know during those sessions, we are focusing on, obviously in the beginning, just the angles of support and the timing to unmark, to show yourself for your teammates as being an option to hold possession or secure a ball or break through the lines. And then a couple of weeks later, we start implementing, can we secure the ball or play forward, depending, basically risk versus reward kind of principle. A couple of weeks later there, we moved into the midfield third, where we were looking to occupy more all the central channels or zones to potentially overload the opponent. Then we also had the attacking transition midfield third, meaning that the transition, your position is usually more behind the ball as a supporting player because of the physical parameters there. So we understand that. That's why I capitalized the behind the ball. So I focused on that one for you. Attacking third is something that you don't really get into because of, again, the physical parameters and not having those penetrating runs that, we talked about in the past. You're more of a ball player or a possession kind of player in midfield. So obviously we focused on recognizing possibilities with point of attack to the opponent's weak side, which, we also had a couple in a couple of games. And I think I have a video that I'm about to show you as well. And so that's kind of it. So the numbers here, it's nice in regards to the number of repetitions. Obviously, the repetition at practice, we try to create those game realistic situations, but a session is still different. Any questions so far? Now I have about 5 or 6 videos that I can show you, but
I don't have any questions.
quick. All right. This is a build-up play where obviously you're here, you see that your ball is in play, you create the diagonal passing channel, right? So that's kind of like in the beginning, you see it's nice weather, so that's that. So where we focus on the angle of support and the timing to on. This is the one attacking third, where you actually have the angle of support behind the ball, right? You're kind of, I would say, more of a countermeasure kind of thing as well, where it is an aerial challenge here, 2v2, close to the 6-yard box. You're anticipating us losing the ball, and you're trying to cover this zone here to win the second ball. So even though technically we still have possession, I do like the fact that you are aware of your surroundings and possibly be a threat. And this is the clip that I was talking about, where we switch to point of attack. That's you. About to receive the ball here. Good touch away from pressure, and you play it to the left wing to Isaac. Let me see why video is longer than expected. This is one thing that obviously still highlights on what it's an ongoing process, for us. Keep working on your physical parameters, because this is one thing. I know you thrive on shots on goal and assists, etc. And I just want to highlight this, that we win the ball in midfield third, and I want you to focus on your speed when we win the ball in defending third. So that's you right there. You're still walking. Well, see, that's you all the way to the left. Right? So that's something that we have to keep working on. Again, I just want to highlight that because even though your attacking sprints are ratio-wise, percentage-wise, a lot higher than your defending sprints, sometimes it's all about recognizing the time to make the right, to join the attack. So this was also a good example of when to join the attack, because we did have the opportunity to outnumber the opponent. So see my mouse marker there, that's you, while the ball carrier here, Jamir, started at the same line as you. And he's carrying the ball, and you don't have a ball. So technically, hypothetically speaking, you should already be up halfway. So when he does play that through ball possession, that we still have the numbers around the balls. press. This is a defending transition. I wanted to highlight that one because we've come a long way with you. So this is you in the middle. You receive the ball here. You look forward. That's fine. It's a misconnected pass, but then you also press the ball quickly and you win the ball. All right. So that's positive defending, recognizing when to press, and that's good. This is another one. Defending transition in midfield third, where you initially lose the ball with a pass, I think. That's you passing the ball, you lose the ball, and then you and Jamir, it's a 2v1, and you win the ball, right? And some, I think, is positive encouragement from my end too. Here, perfect. Okay, good, Diego, right? I saw that and recognize that as well. So those are just highlight clips, right? Obviously, it's a work in progress, and definitely after the injury that we have to keep doing this and see where we're at and try to establish a new baseline with you physically. And obviously it's gonna take some games as well to get back into the numbers that I just mentioned here, because those numbers were when you were actually like 100%, right? I don't know if you remember all your goals that you put in here in the beginning in August, where it was improved conditioning and stamina in small spaces, quickness, sharpness, creating space between the lines, improve first touch directional, etc. Most of these we actually established or achieved, and I put them here. First touch directional, that was one video too, where you switched to point of attack with that good touch there. We showed that video. Creating time and space in between the lines. The player maker trackers are here. But you also saw, even with the build-up play on the timing to unmark and the angle of support and recognizing, the zones or the pockets and the space that you need to be in. So that was one. Improve finishing, passing, and crossing with left foot. Obviously, you don't get in that position that much anymore because you're kind of a lower position on the field. But the player maker tracker shows that you've touched the ball more with your left leg, and you've passed the ball a lot more with your left leg. So obviously, it gives us an indication how far we're along. Then obviously the conditioning and stamina in small spaces. You say that you feel better, but the data is factual, right? It also shows that you've gotten better. Not only the distance ran in a game, but also the number of sprints that you've done. So here's just a couple of examples. This is working towards the 80 sprints, but then it ended up being 100, where your distance covered increased, your sprint distance increased, your number of sprints increased, right? See, in November, when we were still all very excited and very much putting all the extra work in it, because we had state events and all that kind of stuff, and sub-regional EP level league, and then we ended up 129 kind of thing. So the number of accelerations, decelerations, it kind of ties into how many attacking sprints and defending sprints you did, because that was basically up to like 56 in the beginning. So that's basically what this means. So you want to overload yourself, so you want to make sure that you can still go on with everybody else. This is left leg touches from 18 to 28% with your left foot. The top speed is the one that we mentioned, increased. This was one game where you had less minutes played, but you ran the same, and you had the same number of sprints. All right, so that means that the frequency was higher and the intensity. Physical goals continued. Shows that you had longer possessions, 30% to 41%. So that means that you're more confident on the ball, and also more time and space on the ball. So that indicates that the timing to unmark and finding space for your teammates, increased as well, because it was very similar games that I mentioned. Again, the left foot, received, obviously depending on what the game is, but still increase And this is another confirmation where we had the same number of sprints, but the longer distance. So that means that the sprints went longer. Here we go. Same number of sprints, but longer distance, and your higher. So that being said, I think I I think this has been a good experience for both of us. I just want to give you the last word here, and maybe you can think about, future plans, because obviously you have those trials lined up around the corner, maybe next year, and how you felt overall, what you've been through, this season, what the session like, and basically the whole process play with them. So basically, do
It was a nice experience. I learned a lot of things. There was a lot of tactical, like the tactical side of the game was involved a lot, and my physicality got much better in the injury, of course, but it was a good experience. I learned a lot.
Or you go on a trial, what are you going to do to get ready? Because I know the season is coming to an end here soon, and I think it's what, July when you go.
Yeah, I'm gonna do sessions by myself over the summer, probably like every day, and I'll do some like running at night or like futsal games at night or something like that.
Right. I'll share this with you so you know what you're, and obviously you have it yourself. That I mean, this is good to have a document, see where we're at. Um, for your mental resilience, don't forget where you came from the past six to, let's say, 12 weeks, right? Because you still have to get back into the group again and back to your baseline level. So if you see the data showing less than you would have expected, maybe heavy legs or heavy bleeding or conditionally stamina wise, it's not showing you numbers that you want. Just go back to what you've been through January, February, March. It's a normal process. I just, but any questions for me before I stop recording?
No, not really. No. Okay.
You're good? Alrighty. I thank you. I'll see you later. And thank you for being part of this process.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Good luck.